the spring of 1885, a war erupted in the vast expanse of the Canadian Northwest, a resistance often framed as the doomed last stand, a footnote in the march of Canadian nation building. But history is never so simple. The Northwest resistance was not just a military conflict, it was the culmination of a Métis struggle for recognition, sovereignty, and survival against an expanding colonial state. To understand 1885, we must go back to 1869, when the Métis of the Red River, led by Riel, first resisted Canadians' annexation by their lands. The Métis won temporary concessions, but promises were broken, land speculators moved in, and Métis were pushed westward into what is now Saskatchewan, Alberta, and the Northwest Territories. By the 1880s, the Canadian government ignored their petitions. Surveyors divided the land into square lots. The bison hunt, their livelihood, was nearly extinct. Starvation loomed, and Métis had no choice but to act. In March 1885, a provisional government of the Metis Nation was formed at Batoche, just as occurred at Red River. Riel, a changed man, returned from exile to lead once more. Gabriel Dumont, the legendary hunter and tactician, served as military commander. The Canadian government saw this as an insurrection. Prime Minister John A. MacDonald, eager to secure the West for his railway and settlers, sent an ad hoc militia composed of the Northwest Mounted Police, militia battalions, and private citizens. To the federal government, this was not just a suppression campaign, it was the enforcement of a colonial vision. Métis won early victories at Duck Lake and Fish Creek, using guerrilla tactics against a better armed force, where the odds were near impossible. At Batoche, however, Métis were outnumbered and outgunned. They held out for a few days before being overrun. Métis were not reckless insurgents. They were a people fighting for their land and their laws and their very existence. In the aftermath, Frederick Middleton and his militia defeated the provisional government on May 12, 1885. Riel surrendered on May 15th. By November 16th, he was hanged, a political execution to cement Canadian authority. Indigenous allies like Big Bear and Poundmaker were also imprisoned. The Métis Nation was scattered. No longer in doubt, their land was taken. The Canadian state had won. Despite the defeat at Batoche, the Métis Nation survived. The resistance became a foundation for future struggles, for land claims, for recognition, for justice. Today we remember 1885 not as defeat, but as a moment when a people refused to quietly disappear.